You can do the same business. Why should the same clients prefer you to the other? Miracles is not something that should happen to you once in a while. You can enjoy miracle consistently. And one of the things that we have to understand is believing the word of the Lord. We've taught you about growth. And as a young babe, desire the sincere milk of the word. So there is a new dimension the Lord is teaching us. Isaiah chapter 11, we talk about 6 kind of spirits. The Spirit of the Lord. Can we go through it together? The Spirit of the Lord, we talk about the Spirit of wisdom and knowledge, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of the fear of the Lord, and then what again? The Spirit of understanding. So there are 6 spirits that the scripture laid down, but we're making emphasis on the Spirit of wisdom. That door. Praise God. And this is another dimension that I know if God takes us there and we begin to operate in that dimension, there is nothing you want to represent on this earth without this spirit. You cannot attain any height, substantial height. And the way God is taking us is, you don't just want to live an average life. Last year we talked about living a significant life. I don't want to live like everybody lives. I don't want to live a common life. I want to be above. For the law of righteousness and not iniquity, therefore the Lord your God has anointed with all of gladness beyond and above your fellows. Says you will be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. The oil, the unction, or the calling that the Lord gave to us in the book of Genesis chapter 1 from verse 26 said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish that, and subdue. Have what? Dominion. So it is a call. It is a mandate. It is not a suggestion. It is a demand on us to dominate. We are called to rule. We are called into rulership. And rulership in every sphere. God has positioned you and I in different areas, at different spheres, and what God demands of us in every sphere that you are positioned, you are expected to dominate. You are called to dominance. Last week we were talking about calling, right? And you don't understand what I mean by calling now. It does not have to do with kneel down, let me pour a jar of oil on your head. That's when you say, oh, I now call, I now have a calling of God upon my life. No. Whatever you do, whatever you represent, as a pharmacist, you are called. You understand? It's a calling, and you must accept it. You ever embrace it. That's why when somebody have a headache, and on several occasions they called me and said, I don't know what I'm saying. I said, okay, I'll pray for you in the name of Jesus, receive your healing. And then the next thing is, you know what, go and meet her. As far as this area of calling is concerned, that's our own area. You mentioned some drugs. I don't know them. And I don't want to know them. I don't want to pray to know them. It's not my calling. There are certain names you mentioned I don't know, and I don't want to know. You get what I'm saying? So you must understand that we are called into different offices. A teacher, you see, Paul said, I magnify my office. In other words, is I magnify my calling. No matter what you do, if you sell pepper, it is a calling. And every single one must understand how to put value on it. That as a pepper seller, I am bold and confident. What do? I sell pepper. I am not ashamed to declare to anyone. But there is something very significant. Something that distinguishes, differentiates, because we can all be pharmacists, but there's something that must distinguish me among all other pharmacists. We all are teachers, but there's something that must make me to be more preferred among other teachers. And this is the subject we're talking about. It is a spirit that everyone must possess. And it is called the spirit of wisdom. And last week, Friday, we talked about the areas of life that everyone must seek and possess this kind of spirit. We talk about finance, and we talk about marriage. We talk about what again? Life partners. I hope you know it takes wisdom to find a good partner. There are many people who are in trouble today, not for anything, but because they married foolishly. If God can give you enough wisdom to understand how to choose, it takes wisdom to choose right. I hope you know. Both ways, either as a man or as a woman, both ways. But let me not go into that. If you do business, to become outstanding in any kind of business you do, it requires wisdom. Sometimes not just money. I hope you also know that wisdom can give you access to resources. I started what we do with nothing but with wisdom. Not with money, with wisdom. That's why the scripture says wisdom is a principal thing. In all you're getting, get wisdom. We did get understanding. You can achieve anything in life, in business, without money, but with wisdom. Proverbs chapter 24. With wisdom, house is built, and with knowledge, a chamber is filled with all precious and pleasant riches. So you can achieve much more in business. That's very important. And we'll talk about life partner. We'll talk about general life. There is nothing in life that you cannot get done. You cannot, there is nothing you can't get done without wisdom. And so I'm saying that for every area of our lives, one key factor that everyone must desire is wisdom. I have seen people sell what they don't own just by wisdom. Someone got 30 million naira for not owning anything. He didn't own it, but he got paid legitimately. It was a legitimate. So you can achieve anything. Expansion in life happens through wisdom. And that's what I wanted to understand. But there's something I want us to understand today. How can I gain access to this wisdom? That's the subject I want us to look into briefly. There are several other ways, but I'll mention one this morning. Then throughout this month, we'll be looking at how we can access this wisdom. And the last day of the month, the last week of the month, the Lord will have us do what I call a kind of impartation. And what it's all about is to receive and impart ourselves with this same spirit. To a very great extent, I know, I have an understanding, I have a grace to operate in this area that I talk about. There are a few things that the Lord has blessed us with, not by age, but exhibiting God's wisdom. Few things, and I am aware of it. And one of the things the Lord is asking us to do is to impact this same grace, that you begin to produce result bigger and larger in every area of your life. I've met with people who will do the same thing together and more or less operating at the same level today. Not because I have more money than them, but because there's a level of intelligence. And when we talk about wisdom, we talk about three different kinds of wisdom. You remember? Number one is what? Natural wisdom. That's human wisdom. Every human being born of a man possesses this natural wisdom. Everyone. That's why if you give your son, how old is he now? Elijah is 5. At 1 year old, okay, let me say at 2, he did barely understand so much at 2. So when you give him food, where does he put the food? In the mouth. Did you tell him put the food in your mouth? You never told him. That is an internal self-born wisdom in every man that says, when I want to eat, the food must not go to my ears. It must enter my mouth. When he needs to go to toilet, he knows naturally. I don't wee with my mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying now? It is natural. So that's human wisdom. It is natural wisdom. But there's another wisdom called satanic wisdom. It's demonic wisdom. There is a little closeness between God's wisdom and satanic wisdom. If you are not paying attention, that's why discernment is needed. If you don't pay attention to it, you will not be able to differentiate between satanic wisdom and God's kind of wisdom. And God's kind of wisdom is called a supernatural intelligence. You fly in the airplane. That kind of wisdom is beyond natural, normal wisdom. You know why? It is not every man that can produce or manufacture an airplane. You and I, how many of us have mobile phones here? Have you ever sat down to ask yourself, what makes that phone to work? That you press some buttons and then the phones begin to ring, and then somebody from anywhere in the world, you can speak to the person. Not just even speak to the person, you can see the person's face. Have you ever sat down to ask, how did it happen? Have you imagined that? That's nothing but intelligence. It is a superior, supernatural intelligence. It is not normal. Because if it is normal, every single person will be manufacturing phone. I hope you know. It is not normal. It's another level of wisdom, exhibition of wisdom. And it takes a dimension to be able to operate at that level. Sometimes it is satanic, sometimes, and most times it is divine. That's why in this part of the world, when people began to fly airplane, in this part of the world, our own people concluded it's witchcraft they are using to fly airplane. Because they have not discovered it. But those who have discovered this superior intelligence sat down to analyze. That's why I said, see, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. You give birth. I hope you know that if you live in China, both of you live in China, and Elijah was born in China, and at 5, I hope you know there is a level of kind of intelligence I will be operating at right now. I hope you know. Do you agree with me? Because the system, the environment is designed in a way that you are not designed to consume. The system is built. When the moment you are born, they infuse and instill in you, you are a producer, you are a manufacturer. So automatically your brain functions and thinks of what to produce and what to do. So they throw you into a particular session or room and all they are showing you what to produce. This is how to produce this. So at 10, at 15, you just see a young boy manufacturing and producing stuff. It's a level of intelligence. Unfortunately, our own environment is not, we don't have that opportunity. At once, they will be telling you, go and learn how to. I hope you also know there is a difference between tailor and fashion designing. Sometimes what they tell you is go and learn tailoring. But there's a superior level to tailoring. I hope you know. While you are sewing a cloth and say, I'll come and take my cloth. Say, when? Give me time. I'm trying to explain something to somebody so that you understand the kind of wisdom we're talking about. So give me time. They say, 3 days, your cloth will be ready. Based on your own kind of level of wisdom. But there's another person who understands another level of superior intelligence and say, when do you think my cloth will be ready? Give me 6 hours. I'll deliver your cloth. Same And I can tell you, same style, same material, same design. Someone is delivering in 3 days. Another person delivering in 6 hours. You know why? Wisdom is profitable to direct. There is something that is connected to wisdom. It is called strength. And when I'm talking about strength, I'm not talking about physical strength. You don't need to build muscle to exhibit wisdom. That's why you say a small boy. If a small Chinese boy enters this room right now, everybody will be looking at him, because he knows what you don't know. Even you are taller, you are fatter, you will still respect him. And that's the level God is taking every single one to. One of the things wisdom does, it makes you achieve results faster. That what you should achieve at 70, you can achieve at 25. So how do we gain this access to this wisdom? Number one this morning is through learning. Through learning. That's why I talked about the kids who are born in China. They go through serious, rigorous learning. They put them in rooms where, if your own area is to manufacture watches, they put you in a room or in rooms where they learn and learn and learn and teach them how to produce watches. So to gain wisdom, you must commit to learning. You can't learn enough. And you can't know enough. You must learn. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 5. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 1 verse 5. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 5. I'm taking time to explain this so that we all can live the level where we are. Live the level where you are. You have stayed on this level enough. You have operated at this mountain long enough through learning. And I'm going to explain to you, based on the things that we do, how do I get preferred? You can do the same business. Why should the same clients prefer you to the other? Same business. Sell the same product. But by wisdom or superior intelligence, God can reveal to you certain things that the other person does not know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me give you an example so that you understand what I'm talking about. There's something we do, and it has a particular size. And by learning, we discovered that it does not, because what everybody knows, it must be arranged in a portrait format. That's the way everybody knows it. But by learning, we got to discover that you could arrange and achieve a result with it by landscape format. And so when it was discovered, you have to do a kind of reset from the system. Reset it and recalibrate it to give you the kind of result that other people don't have. So that's what we discovered through learning, and that singular knowledge gave us an edge. So somebody says, I want this size. Other people say it cannot be achieved. We say it can be achieved with the same product. The same thing that you have is what we'll have. But because we have learned how to make it work in a different way, that gave us an edge. So I'm saying that with learning, you can get to the point where you become preferred. A wise man will hear and increase in what? In what? Wisdom is gained through learning. And a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. So the question is, this year, what do I need to do to learn more about what I am doing? You make hair product. How much of learning do you want to commit to this year to become better? And it is in the learning and in the gaining of wisdom that your prosperity increases. You can't earn more if you don't want to learn more. Your earning capacity is dependent on your learning capacity. The more you learn, the more you earn. I call it LE. You learn to earn. Do you get what I'm saying now? And Proverbs chapter 13, verse 2. Proverbs chapter 13, let me quickly run now. Proverbs 13, verse 2. Proverbs 13, 1. Go to verse 1. A wise son eats his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. A wise son heeds his father's instruction. So instruction and learning. What happens when you learn is you are given instructions. When you learn, you are given instructions. In the process of when you go to school to learn. The real issue is that they are instructing you. That's what makes learning visible and possible. Proverbs 13:20. He that walks with the wise. Learning is broken into different parts. Number one, you learn through different means. One of the ways you learn through observations. Sometimes you don't even have to go to the four wall of a school. I'll give you an example. I know how to operate computer today. I've never been to any computer school in my life. I have never. I don't have any certification in computer training, but I operate computers. I can do PowerPoint. I could do a little bit. I stopped because I felt I can't do everything. I don't just want to do everything. Because at the point I could design with CorelDRAW. Of course I could type. Some of the things I do, I type myself. I do few things. I may not be the sophisticated type when it comes to computer operations of computers and all of those things. But the basic things I need to work with, I can do with computer. But I've never stepped my feet in any computer school in my life. I don't need it now. There's no need for it. But how did I get there? When I walk into, what do they call it now? A cafe. When I walk into a business center, my eyes are always opened. I watch every bit of every move. I didn't know what a cursor was like. I didn't know. I was not properly, officially taught, this is a cursor, this is a mouse, this is a keyboard. But while I go to business centers, I watch, I listen, I hear what they call what. So I know this is a mouse, this is a cursor, this is a this. I learn by observation. It is one of the easiest way to learn. And I told you, wisdom is gained as sex through learning. So one way is it, when you go to places, I can tell you for free, if I stay in your shop for 1 month, I become a pharmacist. I can tell you. I'm just telling you. I begin to dispense drugs. I'm going to put my eyes into everything. You don't have to sit me down to tell me this one is paracetamol, this one is this one is that. The basic knowledge I have is to know how to read. That's the basic I know. By the time I stay there and see how you attend to people and tell them for this illness, this is what you do, in 6 months, I become a pharmacist. With that certificate though. I may not have the certificate, but I begin to tell people, you are feeling fever. Okay, don't worry, go and use this drug. By observation. So my recommendation, when you go to places, so that's why I pity people when you have the opportunity to go and serve in a place and you close your eyes and say, I don't have any business with it. I want to put my eyes into everything. I want to learn as much as I can learn. And I told you, you learn and you learn. And that's very important. Another way you can learn is by reading. You read and read. Read books in different areas. You learn by reading. You learn by reading. Don't be tired. Don't be tired. You learn by reading. You need to understand certain things about one thing. Now, this is my advice for you. If you want to focus on a particular area of life, you need to take time to read as much as you can read in that particular line of influence. If you call yourself an orator, how many books have you read about oratory? How many books have you read about how to communicate and all of those things? You don't just think I tell you what, where you think your knowledge ends is actually where it starts with certain people. Where you think it ends, I know it all. You just be shocked that you don't know anything. You learn by reading. So you must learn. For everyone, you call yourself a teacher. How many times have you taken time to read? You have to take time to read. That's very important. Number 3, you learn by service. You serve. You serve. You serve and serve. It is an opportunity for you to. I pity people who say, I don't have to serve anybody. I just want to become somebody. You can't amount to anything substantial in life except through service. It is one of the easiest ways to rise. What I do today is a product of service. I pity people who start church and never served anywhere. And if you see that kind of a person, you better run for your life. One of the ways to learn is to serve. Elisha, he was serving. See the difference between Elijah and Elisha and other sons of the prophet. I hope you know he was not the only sons of the prophet. But while he was pouring water through service, because service means you are committed, you are working. Whether I pitied the young guys who walk into places now and the only thing they are thinking about is, how much do you want to offer me? I say, okay, I'm looking for a job. And then they ask, so how much do you think we can pay you? And they are placing value, money before service. You have never been served. I want to learn all I can learn. So the skill I acquired today, I acquired through service. I remember one particular year where our boss got jobs in, this was big, massive. So he needed to send us to different places. So I was to cover Kaduna and then to the Lokoja. It was the first time in my life that I will ever visit Kaduna. I spent 1 month. 1 month because we are running a program, and then 1 month in Kaduna, and then I came back, and then from there sent me to Lokoja. It was the last time I've been to Lokoja. 1 month. The only thing I got was my basic salary. Nothing more. I got to Kaduna and I got there, and the client said, we got your boss money for your hotel. And I was not given any money. It's a story I can never forget. But I said to myself, there was one word that I said to myself, Segun, if you own this business and you don't have a place to stay and you got this job, what would you do? Would you go back home? I said, no, I'm not going back. So I remember I walked into a particular school. I mean, not a school, a church. In Lokoja, it was not this kind of a space. It was a church that was built with mold, not together. The floor was not plastered. And I remember I walked up to the pastor, and I said, sir, I came here on an assignment, but I don't have a place to stay. I think I stayed in an hotel for the first night, because the client said, we pity you because you're a young man. We don't want you to just, but this is the only thing we do. We give you room to stay for. After tonight, you find your way. And I must deliver. I can't have any excuse but not to deliver. And so I went to them and I told them, this is what I came for. And the man looked at me and said, how are we sure? How do we know that you are telling the truth? But you know what? By wisdom. While I was leaving Lagos, something told me, go with some of your pictures. Because I have pictures of where we took in church, where I was attending, and some of those. So sure, I'm a believer. And so I remember I brought out my picture and I showed them, I'm a Christian. Allow me to sleep in the church. And then with a promise, because you know how I got there, I saw in front of the church a signboard, vacancy, class teachers. And I said, I will offer to teach for free. Give me space to sleep. And when I'm talking about space, I'm talking about the bench in the church. Just allow me to sleep on the bench, and I will teach for free. They said, come back the second day. The man and the wife, I'm sure they must have discussed and said, okay, there's something I've told them. Let's allow him. So they allowed me. I was sleeping inside the church, and I was still serving without pay for 1 month. They told me, we don't have anything to give you. We can't feed you. I said, you don't have to feed me. I was drinking gari, but once in a while, they will pity me. They will cook, because they were also living in the church. They will cook, and then while it was time for service, I would join them to worship, and they saw this one is a believer. So I stayed there for 1 month. Guess what? Guess what? The last day, when I finished my assignment, I was going. I told the pastor, thank you, sir, for what you have done. I never called the office to ask for money for hotel. Now, the man said, give me a moment. And he called me into his room. Guess what? He paid me salary for teaching. I couldn't believe it. I returned back to Lagos with extra money in my pocket because of service. Out of all of us who are employees in that organization, I stand to be the only one who till today is doing the same business and is surviving and thriving because of service. It will be enough. Just last year, I was having a conversation with my boss. So I think I greeted him on his birthday. I'm going to read this message to you so that you understand. Wisdom comes through learning. One of the ways you learn is through service. It's big now, doing well in Abuja. And this is the message he sent to me. I am very proud of you, Segun. You are being able to convert seemingly inhospitable beginning into a huge success. Well done. Segun, this is great power of conversion resides only with visionary men like you, who have their eyes fixed on the future, and for whom no obstacles will be strong enough to resist. Because that was an obstacle for me. Obstacle will not be enough to resist the passion to be more, have more, and achieve more. You are the salt of the earth. Your growth and achievement will add flavor, honor, and color to the gospel of Christ. Keep the fire burning. Maranatha. I gained wisdom through learning, and learning comes through service.